Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with Australian-based conscious communication coach Jem Fuller. He has lived a colorful global life, from barefoot backpacker to corporate leader, fire dancer, and traditional tattooist, kindergarten teacher to motorcycle courier, and so many other things like travel consultant in between. Now is the time for him to be a partner and father, coach, facilitator, and retreat leader. We spoke to him from a surf town in Australia about quite a bit. Enjoy this interview. It's great to meet you, Jem. You got a fascinating story. I'm really looking forward to digging into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about anything you want to talk about, Joe.
So, where are you located exactly?
In Australia, on the southern coast, over on the east side, so in a state called Victoria. The nearest city is Melbourne. That's about an hour and a half drive away. I live in a little surfing town.
Oh, man. That just sounds like nirvana.
Yeah. We're pretty lucky where we live. It's weather-wise, it's interesting. You know, we get a proper winter. It gets really cold here in winter, although it doesn't snow, but it gets super cold. And then the weather's volatile, man. You know, like we should be in summer now. December is the first month of summer for us. And but, you know, some days are still really cold, so it's a bit up and down.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like living here in the States. You know, we go through these weird temperate up and downs, and there's nothing that's guaranteed. So I understand. So, you know, in your life as a conscious communication coach, you know, you rely on people, and I'm curious, how did you survive COVID these last 2 years, and how did that process, living through a pandemic, change you?
Yeah, look, man, I'm super lucky. I was able to pivot. I know everyone's overused that word now, but that's exactly what I was able to do. Prior to COVID, all of my clients that I coached and facilitated workshops for and retreats and everything, all of them were face-to-face. You know, my keynote gigs were in the room, you know, at corporate events and that kind of thing. So everything was face-to-face. And when COVID came, it all stopped. You know, all of my work stopped. And I remember thinking a few months into COVID, the government here had organised some relief, some financial relief for business owners. And once I qualified for that relief, I remember sitting on the couch one day thinking, this is okay. I've got enough money to feed the kids. I'll just ride this out. You know, I'll just take a breath. I'll ride it out. And once COVID's gone, I'll kick back into gear again. And I heard myself thinking that. In the moment, I caught myself thinking that, and I went, whoa, Jem, that thinking's not going to work, dude. You know, you need to find a way to be more relevant now than ever before. And coincidentally, I'd actually just built my first online course just prior to COVID. Literally launched it a month before COVID became a thing, and it was an online course in personal resilience, would you believe? So that ended up becoming really relevant. And then I just reached out to all of my clients and said, look, I think you guys are going to need me more now than ever before, and this is how I can help you. Took everything onto Zoom and doubled my capacity and then doubled my business. So my revenue in the first year of COVID, my revenue doubled from any previous year. And then in the second year of COVID, I doubled it again. So, mate, I've been really, really lucky, and you know, I'm very grateful every day because I'm serving way more clients than I ever have done. The revenue is a lot more than it ever was, and now we can get back out and see people again as well. So yeah, very lucky.
How did this journey begin for you? Where are you from originally, and what did you want to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to be a famous actor. Yeah, and you know, and I pursued that for a while. I finished high school, went travelling for a bit, came back, and I got into the Institute of Dramatic Art here in Australia, NIDA it's called, National Institute of Dramatic Art, and it's really hard to get into. You know, they only accept, you know, between 20 and 30 students, and they have thousands of kids apply to get into this school. You know, Mel Gibson went there, and Judy Davis went there, and, you know, all these famous people went there. Kate Blanchett went there, and, you know, so getting into this school, it was like, I've made it. I'm going to be a Hollywood star, you know. That was when I was in my early 20s. Anyway, spent some time there, got kicked out, and went and got an agent and did acting work through my early 20s. But my love for travel overtook my passion for acting, and travel, I just ended up traveling more and more, and you know, traveling around the world to weird and wonderful places And that was most of my 20s and early 30s was just traveling around the world.
So when you look back, do you ever think, man, I wish that would have happened? Or are you just really happy with the way that you picked being someone that, is wandering or not wandering, but, of
Yeah, I was wondering, yeah.
yeah, wandering and going through the world and doing things in the way that you've done it. Do you look back and think, man, I did this. This is a script that's mine exclusively?
Oh, yeah, man. I don't ever spend any time thinking I wish I could go back and change the way things worked out. Everything's worked out exactly as it was supposed to, and I'm very, very lucky now. I really am living a dream life. I'm aware of that. However, it hasn't always been like this. I'm human, and we go through our ups and downs. And it was only 9 years ago that I was lucky enough to experience what a lot of people call a midlife crisis, but for me, it was a midlife opportunity. But I lost everything, man. I had a career. I lost my career, lost my marriage, lost my house, lost all my belongings. I walked away from that midlife opportunity with my two boys. I've got two sons. They were quite young at the time, and week on, week off. So I've been single parenting since then, week on, week off. So I had my two boys. I had a surfboard, a guitar, and $100,000 worth of debt. And that was only 9 years ago, and we've turned all of that around. So, there's been the ups and downs, but I don't regret any of it. I think it was all meant to be.
Let me put what you do right now in perspective. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a grade school. One looks up at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" How would you answer that kid?
I'd say to that kid, I help leaders get better at leading teams. So I work with leaders to help them be more effective as a leader.
What is it that you look forward to the most every day when you wake up, when you do this work? What is it that motivates you?
Oh man, when I see clients making transformational change and their life becomes easier, when I see clients start to create more ease, more flow, and therefore more success, I'm so happy with that, and that happens every day. So that's a wonderful thing to look forward to. There's other aspects of my life that I really look forward to as well. I've been in a very conscious and beautiful relationship with my other half, my woman, and we've been together for almost 8 years now. And it's every single day is a joy to walk by her side. I usually look forward to the 4 teenagers that we've got, although there's ups and downs with teenagers as well. As we speak currently today, the four kids are all doing really well, so that's nice. Although they have their chapters of struggle. But yeah, no, look, we live down the coast, and when there's surf, I get to surf or ride the mountain bike. We live on a farm, on a sheep farm. I don't have to run the sheep. Thankfully, there's a farmer that runs the sheep, but we get to live there, and we're surrounded by nature and animals, and so yeah, every day is a blessing, man.
Let me ask you this. All of us are inspired and motivated by the art that we indulge in our lives. But I'm curious with you, what was that for you? What book or album was that was seminal in your development?
Oh, wow. Yeah, gee, there's been a few. Which one? What to pick? There's so many. Look, Evolving the Brain by Joe Dispenza, that came to me at a really crucial time when I needed to consciously rewire my beliefs. That was around the time of the midlife change. And specifically the belief I needed to rewire was the old belief I had was that I'm not enough, not good enough, which I've since found out is pretty common for humans to believe that. So I had to rewire that and shift it into I am enough. I'm enough to live my best life and to create what I want, what I deserve to create, which is what I think we all deserve to create. The happiness that we can have something to say about, rather than just being a passenger or a victim to circumstance. So that was a good book to read at the time. There's been other books that I've loved. I mean, there was a really seminal book for me in my early 20s was called God and the New Physics by an Australian quantum physicist called Paul Davies. And now that's going way back. But I've actually just given that book to my 18-year-old because he'll find it fascinating. But just the whole opening my eyes to quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and the possibility, and also the understanding that there's so much that we don't know, and scientists throw their arms up in the air and go, do you know what? We think we know a lot, but there's actually so much we don't know and can't explain. And that, to me, means a world of possibilities. So that was a seminal book.
So since you wanted to be an actor, let me ask you this. If somebody was to play you and portray your life in a movie, who would be the actor? Huh.
Oh, man. I don't know. I'd probably play myself.
There you go.
No, but I don't know. Yeah, no, good question. I don't know, man. Someone who's... I don't know. That's a really good question. I've got no idea.
Well, let's do this. Let's kind of dance around that. You know, we're only as good sometimes as those we look up to. Who's been a hero for you in your life?
I reckon a lot of people say this, but that's okay. I'm just going to say it because it's true. Martin Luther King Jr. has been a hero for me. I'm blanking. Oh, Branson. Yeah. Virgin. Branson's been a hero as well. I've loved the way he's done things. Who else has been a hero? Jim Morrison was a bit of a hero, even though he was a rat bag and he was, a bit of a scallywag. He was a hero. Yeah, that'll do. That's
a good list. So I don't want to be presumptuous with this question, but let me ask you this. If you could meet one person alive on the planet right now, who would it be?
If I could meet one person alive on the planet right now, I'd actually love to sit down with Sam Harris. I don't know if you listen to Sam Harris. He's got a podcast called Making Sense, and I listen to his app, his meditation app called Waking Up, and I've been listening to his podcast for years and subscribing for years because it's a primary source of intellectual learning for me. So yeah, I'd love to meet him. It'd be great to have a conversation with him.
Wonderful. So if you have a dream tonight and you run into like your 20-year-old version of yourself and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained throughout your life and all of these years and everything that you've done, what would you tell your young version?
Squirrel a little bit of money away and invest it, because I never did that. And that would have been handy if I had just put a little bit aside somewhere and let it sit there and grow. And also I would say to the younger version of myself, you are enough, right? You're good enough just the way you are. You don't need to be more like anyone else. You don't need to be taller or faster or smarter or anything. You're enough just the way you are, and know that.
Everyone out there has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are, your family, your friends, your clients, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am a kind, generous, open-minded, at least trying to be open-minded as possible, loving, caring, action-taking man. That's how I see myself.
My final question, so we go out on a high note here, is what's been one of the best success stories for you? One of the best client letters, responses that you've gotten from somebody based on your work?
Man, it's not actually, there's been plenty of those, obviously, but the biggest success for me was when a contact that I had through the work that I do, a contact who's very successful, rang me up one day, knowing that I run retreats around the world, and rang me up one day and said, Jem, it's time for me to commence my philanthropic journey. It's time for me to invest some money in something not-for-profit. Can you please do some research for me and find out a good cause for me to donate some money to? And I said to him, mate, I don't even need to do the research. I've been trying to put together this fundraiser to build a school in the village in the Himalayan mountains where I go. I've been going there I've got a family that I've been living with on and off for 25 years, and I run retreats there, and we want to build a little internet school there for the kids. And I said, I've got it all set up and ready to go, but the funding all fell through. And I said, could you donate for that? And he said, yeah, let me look into it. And he did. So he donated all of the money, and we got to build a school in this village in the Himalaya, which is still there to this day. And my partner and I now sponsor a few kids through school there every year. So that's been the biggest, highlight for me through the work that I do. But and then at a completely other end of the scale, I had an email the other day from a woman in America who had bought my book, The Art of Conscious Communication for Thoughtful Men, and a lot of women are actually buying the book, which is great. She bought the book and she emailed me the other day and she said, I want to thank you for writing this book, because not only has it changed my life, it's changed my appreciation for my husband and how he operates, and it's completely changed the way that I'm going to raise my two boys, and I'm going to be a better mum for it, and they're going to end up being better men for it. So thank you. And that just, I almost cried, man. It was really beautiful just to know that the book you've written is positively impacting lives around the world. That was really lovely.
So if anybody wants to learn more about you, your book, your business, anything revolving your world, where can they go and find out?
Jemfuller.com. JEMFULLER.com. Everything's on there. If they want to follow me and just consume the tips and the advice and the bits of wisdom that I share, you can follow me on Insta. I post on Insta every day. Or if you want, any of the resources, if you want to watch my TEDx talk, or if you want my free ebook, or if you want to purchase the other book, it's all there on the website.
That's pretty simple, man. Jem, hey, it's great that we caught up with each other. Thank you very much for taking time out. Have a great holiday and a great 2023.
Yeah, Joe, thanks so much for having a chat with me and having me on your show, dude.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, and music from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.